Could you imagine what it would be like to travel to fulfill the dream of your recently deceased father? Journey to the city that never sleeps. A trip as a collection of emotion for you, filled with sadness for your father passing, but with a mission to accomplish that motivates you to don't give up. And just as you arrive, your country collapsed due to a patch. You don't know the language or the place you'll be arriving, so you can ask for help. Furthermore, you can leave the terminal or return to your homeland. This is the case of protagonist today, Victor. Join us on his journey through the complexity of understanding a new language, and how one can communicate not only with words.
I help you?
I'm so sorry, sir. The position has already been filled.
Do you live nearby?
Yes, yes. Gate 67.
Because we are very particular about punctuality. Did you say gate 67?
Gate 67.
You gotta be kidding.
You gotta help me help you. I don't see a social security number, driver's license number.
Mailing address, even a phone number.
Telephone?
Yeah.
You need? I get.
right.
I get phone. I get phone. Four, five, one, 1, 2, 2, 6.
All right. And when's the best time to reach you?
No?
In the movie The Terminal, the main challenge of the communication is the misinterpretation of non-verbal cues. Viktor Naborsky, who arrived at JFK Airport, being from Europe and without speaking English, didn't know how to deal with airport officials. His gestures and facial expressions are misunderstood, which create a confusion and shorten out resolving his situation. This challenge shows how easy it is not understand someone when he thinks we can communicate only non-verbal communication. For example, Victor tried to explain himself using hands movement and expression, but the official often misunderstand and him and complicate the situation. It is essential that we take cultural difference into account, especially when someone cannot speak the local language. Not verbal communication changes from culture to culture, and gestures can mean different things.
Now, what is direct and indirect communication, and how is it presented in the case? First, direct communication involves expressing thoughts, feelings, or needs in a clear, straightforward, and honest manner. People who use direct communication often say exactly what they mean and expect others to do the same. On the other hand, indirect communication relies on hints, context, tone, or body language to convey a message. This style is often used to be polite, avoid conflict, or maintain harmony, especially in cultures where being too direct might be considered rude. Now, how is this related to our case? In this airport scene, Victor uses both direct and indirect communication to try to find work. At first, he speaks a few broken English phrases and points to himself or to tasks he can do. These gestures are indirect. He does not state clearly what he wants, so the staff must guess his meaning. Later, Victor holds up a paper sign that reads "Help Wanted." The words are very clear. This is a direct message about his need for a job. Yet, because he never speaks aloud, it still feels a bit indirect. He depends on others to notice the sign and choose to read it. Together, these moments show how indirect methods, like gestures, can lead to confusion, while a simple, clear statement, even if written instead of spoken, can finally get a response. Victor's mix of silent hints and straightforward text highlights how both styles work in a busy international setting.
A few practical fixes for someone stuck in an airport because they can communicate with border official can be on-site interpreter service, Airports already keep interpreters hotlines. CBP officers could request a live interpreter the moment they detect a language gap. Pre-translated document pack. Hand the traveler a short packet in multiple major language, plus a plug for where they can write in their own language and get it translated later. QR code translation kiosk. Simple kiosk that scan a passport, detect the language, and let both officer and traveler converse through an instant speech-to-speech translation app. Temporary safe room with multilingual staff rotation. Instead of keeping the traveler in the main hall, move them to a waiting area staffed every hour by someone who speaks their language or can break with a second language. Embassy Consulate Rappel Deal Protocol. Brother Angels called the traveler's embassy straight that way, looping in a consular officer who can translate and explain legal rights, preventing the situation from dragging on.
In conclusion, this system from the terminal shows how problems can appear when people from different cultures don't communicate in the same way. Victor doesn't speak English very well, and that makes it hard for him to explain what he wants. But the biggest problem here is the difference in communication styles between cultures. In his culture, Victor uses more indirect communication, like gestures, body language, and facial expressions. But in the US, people expect and understand something different. This difference causes confusion, and sometimes people don't understand each other, even if they are trying. This is a clear example of intercultural communication problem, and it teaches us that we need to be more open and patient when talking to people from other cultures. Not everyone communicates the same way, but if we try to understand, things can be more easier. Finally, these kinds of misunderstandings are very common in real life, especially when people use indirect communication without realizing that others might not understand the meaning behind a gesture or a look. In one culture, expression or a silence might mean something polite, but in another, it could be confusing or even rude. That's why learning about how different cultures communicate is so important. It helps us to avoid these small problems that can grow into bigger ones. And it allows us to connect better with people, even if we don't speak the same language.